What's up everybody, it's Joe here with Joseph Blake Photography, and in today's video we're going to take a deep dive into everything you need to know to take your photo and video skills for content creation or whatever it is that you're doing to the next level. We're going to be covering a fundamental aspect of photography that can definitely apply in almost everything you do, and that is composition rules. So whether you're just starting out or if you're trying to refine your skill, understanding composition can be key to creating visually stunning images, video, any kind of content. So let's hop into the different kinds of composition rules. First is the rule of thirds. So imagine that your image is divided into 9 equal parts. They're equally spaced and they're divided with horizontal and vertical lines. The idea is to place the most important elements of your scene along these lines or at their intersections. This is going to create balance and interest in your photos. So by positioning your subject off center, you naturally guide the viewer's eyes through the image. Makes it more engaging, makes it more dynamic. Let me show you a little bit about how this works in practice. So if I'm positioning my subject at an intersection of these lines, notice how it draws your eye into the scene and gives your photo a more dynamic feel. Next, let's talk about leading lines. These are lines that lead the viewer's eye through the photograph. Often that's to the main subject or whatever it is you want them to look at. You're effectively pointing them in the direction that you want them to look. Now, leading lines can be anything. They can be roads, they can be paths, they can be rivers, fences, whatever. Normally they're relatively straight and they point again in the direction of the thing that you want the viewer to look at. Leading lines can add depth, they can add perspective, they make your photos feel more three-dimensional and immersive. And it's a great way to guide your viewer as a kind of a journey through your image. So in a shot like this, the lines will lead your eye towards the horizon, creating a sense of depth and kind of guiding you through the image. Next is symmetry and patterns. Using symmetry and patterns in your image is a huge compositional tool. Humans are naturally drawn to symmetry. We like symmetry. So incorporating it into your photos can create a sense of harmony and balance. While patterns, on the other hand, can add visual interest and make your images stand out or pop. So look for repeating shapes, colors, objects, and capture them creatively. Let's take a closer look. So in a cityscape, you might see repeating patterns like windows. These are pleasing to the eye. By focusing on these elements, you can create a visually compelling image. Next, let's talk about framing. Framing is about using elements within your scene to create a frame around your subject. It helps to focus the attention on the main subject and adds context to the image. So the frame can not only be something that maybe puts the viewer in the image to understand where it is or what's happening, but it can act almost like leading lines to direct the viewer towards the thing that you want them to see. Natural frames like windows, doorways, archways, I guess those aren't really natural, those are more man-made, but they can add layers to your composition. They make your photo more compelling. If you position things like branches or other foliage around a flower, it will frame the subject, drawing the attention directly to it and adding depth to the image. You can also play around with shallower depths of field to create depth in the image, but still as an act of framing. Next is negative space. Negative space refers to empty or open space around the object. Now, this might feel a little counterintuitive considering what we've just talked about, but this technique allows your main subject to stand out. It's very high contrast and gives the sense of simplicity and minimalism. You're still drawing the viewer's eye towards that item, but you're doing it by omitting other things that might be a distraction. Using negative space effectively, you can create a powerful visual impact. It can be very dramatic and very interesting. Having a vast open space around a subject can emphasize their presence and create a serene, minimalist feel. Another important aspect of composition is creating depth and using layers. This can involve either arranging or trying to set your composition position or your perspective where you've got your shot laid out to arrange elements in the scene to convey a sense of depth, making your photos look more three-dimensional. Think about this like framing or leading lines, but instead of a single item or one layer, we're going to add additional layers to the scene. Traditionally, you would have a foreground, midground, and background element to work together to lead the viewer's eye through the image, adding complexity and interest. You might have foreground, midground, and background create layers to add depth but make the scene more immersive. Using different layers of trees or different types of forest elements to make it feel more inclusive. Next is contrast and color. Contrast and color can dramatically enhance your composition if used properly. Contrast can be created through the differences in light and dark areas. The darker an area that is right next to a lighter area creates contrast, while using bright and complementary colors that, while not similar but work well together, you can make your images pop. Using contrast and color effectively, you can draw the attention of the viewer to create a more dynamic and engaging image. This can also help quite a bit if you're doing post-processing or editing. If you are working with a very complex or busy scene, adding vibrant colors and contrast in the lighting areas that you want the viewer to look at, you can actually really draw their eye to the brighter, more contrasty areas of the image. So finishing up, remember that these are just quick introductions to these ideas. I might do a deeper dive into each of these as standalone videos down the road. If you're interested in that, go ahead and let me know down in the comments. But also remember that these rules they're guidelines, right? These are not laws. You can break them, but they're there to help you create more interesting and visually appealing photos. Don't be afraid to go off the beaten path, and don't be afraid to combine parts of these ideas to create your own style. That's the best part of videography and photography and content creation, is that you get to do it your way. But by keeping some of these rules in mind, you can approach the shot first from maybe a more organized perspective, and then decide where you want to break out and be yourself. So if you found these tips to be helpful, please give this video a like, thumbs up, and go ahead and subscribe to my channel, Joseph Blake Photography, for more tutorials and photo tips. Hit the notification bell so you never miss an update. As always, have a wonderful time creating wonderful content, and I will see you in the next one. Thanks.